At the end of a workday, we're all on like 3% battery life. And instead of charging up again, we expect more from that 3%, only for people to shut down on us. And we often say that, hey, why do you always shut down? Oh, you work so hard at work, but you shut down when you're with me. We shut down because we're already depleted. I want to dive in with the first one. So the first challenge is something that I know everyone's going to be able to relate to. I recently shared a section of a Q&A session I did on my Instagram page. It went absolutely viral on Instagram and TikTok. I could see that a lot of you resonated with it. And I was talking about a friend of mine who just got back from a vacation with her partner. She was telling me that she didn't feel she spent any time with him. And I was like, well, you just went away. What do you mean? And she said, well, he was on his laptop and then he was on his tablet and then he was reading his book and I didn't really spend any time with him. And I said, well, the challenge is you're not really asking for time. You're asking for presence. You're asking for energy. But the word you're using is time. So in his eyes, he's spent the weekend with you. He's spent time with you. But really what we're looking for is energy. What we're looking for is presence. And what we find is that even when we're in the same space, even when we're in the same room as our partners, if they are distracted while watching a show, on their phone, on their laptop, doing some work, we know that their attention isn't with us. And therefore, even if someone sits with us for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, it feels like less than 3 minutes. And even more than this, it feels worse. If you don't see someone, it's different than when you see them, but you don't feel seen. How many times have you sat with someone? You can see them in front of you, but you don't feel seen. It's worse than if you didn't see them that week. And this term is such a common experience that it's called technoference. And one study found that technoference, where computers, phones, tablets, or TVs interrupt couples' everyday interactions, occurred in around 70% of relationships. Now, I don't know a relationship that doesn't have this challenge, so I'm sure that's more like 100%. But in another study, 38% of partners said they even sent texts or emails during conversations with their partners, right? How many of you know that you're constantly dealing with this, where you're trying to talk to your partner, but they're checking the results of the game? Or you're trying to communicate with your partner, but they're distracted because they're thinking about something at work? Or how many of you have noticed your partner say, yes, 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 I'm with you, but then their phone rings and they immediately go to grab it? This can be okay in the beginning. You can tolerate it, you can understand it, but it starts to wear on us. It starts to create challenges. It starts to create stress. And I know many of you can relate to this. So how do we navigate this? The first thing I want you to do is I want you to set a rule that when you want your partner's undivided attention, you communicate that. I think instead of saying, I hope we can spend time together, or I hope we can hang tonight together, when you want their undivided attention because you have something important to share or something important to communicate, say to them, when can we have some undivided attention time? When can I sit with you when you will have the opportunity to fully listen? I know you have a lot going on. I know that there are a lot of demands on your time. When is the right time? The challenge is we often want now to be the right time. We want, whenever we want to be the right time, to be the right time for them. And often out of fear or pressure, our partner can say, sure, I'm with you. I'm totally focused. And they're doing that just to make us feel better. And then they're not focused because they were distracted. And now you notice they're distracted. So now you're even more upset with them. Now they're upset because they actually tried to make you happy, but now you're not happy because they tried even though they weren't ready. And now they're upset because they haven't focused on what they needed to. Notice how your intentions can be beautiful. Your perspective can be wonderful. Your desire to be there for each other can be totally right, but you can make a complete mess. I want you to avoid this. And the way to avoid this is to ask your partner, when can I have your undivided attention? I have something really important to share with you. Sometimes we just go straight in and we say, oh my gosh, I have to tell you this. And we're demanding, we're expecting complete focus from our partners. And at best, they give us their attention, but we're not satisfied. And at worst, they can't give us their attention and we feel they don't love us or they don't care about us or they don't value what we've just told them. The next thing I'm going to add to that is, in order to truly feel presence, there's an incredible technique called mirroring that was popularized by Chris Voss. Now, Chris Voss was a negotiator for the FBI, so he knew how to have difficult conversations. And he knew how to get people to talk. When he would listen to people, he would say that the skill we have to use is mirroring. So if someone was answering a question, you would repeat the last 1 to 3 words they said. So if you said to someone, how's your day today? And they said, yeah, it went great. You would say, it went great, as a question for them to then say, yeah, I had a really good conversation with my friend and at work and we really connected. Or they'd say, I had a really bad day. And you'd say, a bad day? And they'd say, yeah, you know what? I was late for this meeting and I haven't got this work done on time. And, my boss isn't really happy with me. And you'd say, oh, your boss isn't really happy with you? And so you're repeating those last few words, which creates the truth of presence. There is no better way of showing you're present than the repeating of the words your partner has said in any circumstance. Nodding, mm-hmm-ing, whatever else you do isn't the same as actually repeating what someone has said. How many times does your partner say to you, well, you're not really listening. You don't really know what I'm trying to say. What did I say? Tell me what I said, right? How many times do we hear that in an argument? And we hear it because people don't feel heard. When you're repeating what someone's saying, it's saying, I hear you. It's saying, hey, is this what you're aiming at? Is this what you're thinking about? The second key challenge in a relationship is us bringing our work stress home, or today, when we're working from home, we're just constantly stressed. So now we don't have that distinction between work and home. It's all at home, right? So many of us are working multiple days a week at home. People are overworking. People are overstressing. People are working insane amounts of hours, and we don't get time to decompress. We have to go from being connected at work to being connected at home. And now you don't even get the train ride back or the car journey back. And if you do, then you still have a bit of time. But most of us just switch off our laptop screen or look off our phone and you're right there at home. Without that natural divide, you don't have that decompression. You don't have that de-stressing. You don't have that disconnection. Now, one of the things that Radhi's done unbelievably in our space is that when it hits around 6 p.m., she'll put on a diffuser with a calming scent and she'll turn on some relaxing music. And this really sets the tone of how we want the evening to go. And I find having these physical cues, having these physical responses to how we're feeling really sets us up to relax and rest and sets us both up to connect. An American Psychological Association survey found that 65% of people named their job as their top source of stress, and just 37% felt they were doing a good job managing it. Now think about that for a second. Not only is workplace stress the number one cause for stress, it's also something that we are worried about. And so when we don't feel we're performing well at work and we don't feel we're managing our workload well, when we then feel like failures at home as well, you go home and your partner makes you feel like you're not really delivering at home either. It's no wonder that so many of us have so much self-doubt. It's no wonder that so many of us are dealing with so many high levels of stress because we feel like failures at work and failures at home. And the home is meant to be an environment that protects us. I'd suggest you do is take a moment to just breathe. When they come back, when you come back, when you both switch off your computers, just take a moment to breathe. Don't expect anything from each other. Don't expect anything right away. Just give each other that time to breathe, to disconnect, to switch off. Just as our computers and our devices take time to power down, so do we. And before we start putting pressure on our partners when they're at 3% battery life, let's just be aware. Think about that for a second. At the end of a workday, we're all on like 3% battery life. And instead of charging up again, we expect more from that 3%, only for people to shut down on us. And we often say that, hey, why do you always shut down? Oh, you work so hard at work, but you shut down when you're with me. We shut down because we're already depleted. Find a way to create habits for both of you, separately, collectively, to regenerate. For me and Radhi, we found that doing something exercise-based or health and wellness-based really helped. For me, I can't work out in the evening. It doesn't work for me. Radhi can often get a workout in the evening too. And so if she's going to work out in the evening to refuel and regenerate, I may stay at home and catch up with a friend or spend some time on my own. Now, if we're together, we may go to a cold plunge together or go to an infrared sauna together, because that's something I do like doing in the evening. And that makes me feel not depleted. That recharges me. And so find out what are your individual recharging exercises and find out what are your collective recharging exercises. Figure out which nights are individual recharges or collective recharges. Thank you so much for listening to today. I hope this helps you navigate some of these common challenges in relationships, and I can't wait for you to listen to another episode.